Welcome to Psych You Out.
We're your hosts, Andrew and Leah, and let's get into it.
Our first guest is Davey and Johnny Boy.
Thanks for having me on.
So are you familiar with the understanding of what critical thinking is and how it affects our decision making?
A little bit. Could you tell me a little bit more?
So critical thinking is just a way of interpreting and analyzing what you hear, say, or write.
Yeah, what is one way that you think you use critical thinking?
So one way I use critical thinking is on test. Sometimes you don't really know the answer, so you have to look at the answers presented to you and figure out which one would most likely be the correct answer.
Woo! Wow, good answer. Guess you're a good guesser.
You're taking AP Psych, right? What do you think the difference between causation and correlation is?
Yeah, I do have that class. I love Miss Foreman. A example of correlation would be if I happen to be at the scene of a crime when the crime is happening, but an example of causation is if I was the one to commit the crime.
That's a great answer, Davian.
So our next question for you is about research methods, such as the experimental method, case studies and survey answers. So what's one experiment that you've had or learned about in school?
So I learned about a scientific method, like sleep studies and stuff. So one thing that I learned is if you get extra sleep the night before something big like a test or a game or whatever, it'll help you to perform better in those activities. So now I make sure that the night before a swim meet or the night before a test, I go to bed early just so I can get that extra sleep I need.
Wow! Thanks for coming on, Davey and Johnny Boy.
On to our next guest.
Welcome back to Psych You Out.
Today we have a new guest, Emma Margarone.
And we're going to be talking about some cognition things.
I'm happy to be here today.
Today we're going to be talking a bit about memory.
So Emma, what's your earliest memory that you can think of?
Okay, my earliest memory was probably playing on the playground with my mom at the school library. I just have this distinctive memory.
How old were you?
I don't know, it was when we lived in Maryland, so maybe 4, 3? I don't know. I think that's my earliest memory.
Okay, so do you remember when we were playing soccer and you got stung by a bee on the field?
Yeah.
Liar! Well, Emma, you just fell victim to false memory.
That is when we convinced you of having a memory that you didn't actually have.
Whoa!
Emma, would you describe your mindset as more growth or fixed?
What's that?
So growth mindset is that you think that you are capable of doing more and improving.
Oh, and a fixed mindset is when you don't think that anything more is possible.
I think I'd like to be someone with a growth mindset, because that means you're not limiting yourself.
That's really cool. But did you notice that photo of Davian in the corner this whole time?
What? I bet you didn't.
That's because of selective attention. You're so focused on our conversation that you didn't notice Davian's head.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Action. Welcome back to Psych You Out. Welcome our new guests, Braden Morgan and Luis Rara. Thank you for having us on. So this unit we're talking about is biological basis.
Do you think you guys are stressed out?
I think I'm pretty stressed out about all my schoolwork I have to do and exams coming up.
I would say, yeah, having to juggle a lot of things is very stressful.
Our brain can cope with stress in many ways.
Such as the release of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and endorphins, which can help reduce stress and increase happiness.
Wow!
So our next question for you is about sleep. So how much sleep do you guys get at night?
I'd say it depends the night, but usually about 5-6 hours of sleep.
I get 6 to 7.
Sleep can have a big impact on well-being and learning.
So what should you do? You should get over 8 hours of NREM stage 3 sleep.
What is NREM sleep?
REM sleep is the deepest stage of sleep, and it's the non-rapid eye movement sleep stage.
So our next topic is about drugs and what they do to you. So drugs can either be two different things. Agonist drugs, so it's substances that bind to neurotransmitter receptors and mimics their effects, and which enhances neuroactivity. So one example is fentanyl.
And then antagonists are substances that bind to neurotransmitter receptors and they block the receptors. An example of this would be opioids.
Opioids.
I would say don't do drugs, because it blocks your neurotransmitters.
One go.
Thank you for your time. She got stung by a bee on the soccer field.